We acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands on which these films have been made all over Australia. We acknowledge elders past and present and all First Nation peoples watching us today. Hi everyone, it's time to get in the groove. I'm Carole and welcome to Seniors in the Groove, the best of the Victorian Seniors Festival 2020. We're shining a light on some creative and inspiring talent featured online in the Victorian Seniors Festival 2020. We've got music, song, dance, performances from a diverse range of cultures. Seniors in the Groove, created especially for Victorian seniors. Hi everyone, are you ready to have some fun with Seniors in the Groove? Do you hate being bored? Because our first guest, Jane Clifton, hates being bored. And you certainly won't be bored with her segment with Paul Williamson. We're going to take a look at some Carole King music and you'll be wanting to sing along. Will you still love me tomorrow? Now, I promise I will not be singing. I did take singing lessons a few years ago, and the singing teacher said to me, "Carole, there's only one problem. Your voice is working against you." And that was the end of my singing career. But you do warm up your vocal cords, because then we have the legendary and inspiring Retro Girls. They've been performing for our Defence Forces and have done over 800 shows around Australia, getting audiences on their feet. You're going to really want to sing along. Then, after a short segment from yours truly, we're going to have some more fun and laughs with Swampy. Now, here's Tristan with our first guest.
This week, we're all about generosity, and we couldn't think of a more generous artist to invite back into the mix. Writer, poet, actor, civil celebrant. That's right, it's Jane Clifton. G'day, Jane Clifton.
Hello, Beck. I have to take my mask off in case you get infected.
Jane, where are you?
I'm in my sewing room, my reconstructed sewing room, sewing masks for the nation to protect them. Before lockdown and the drama, I was pretty much a knitter, as you can see from the bears. Last year I knitted the Nativity, which was an absolute triumph, and was going to be in the Royal Show this year but didn't get round to it. This year during lockdown, I've tried lots of other things because we've got time on our hands. I went for embroidery. Needlepoint nearly drove me crazy. Don't recommend it for anyone's mental health whatsoever. I joined the jigsaw puzzle craze with the map of Melbourne, which again is not good for one's sight. And finally brought out my inner Van Gogh and tried my hand at painting. This is a still life, and my partner said to me, "Are those potatoes?" I said, "They're quinces." So here I am, and my writing is really suffering. I usually write a few poems and write a few novels and just don't get time.
Jane, is there anything you can't do artistically?
I can't dance, don't ask me. Can't do ballet, can't make money. But apart from that, I just will try really anything. I was injected with a sewing machine needle when I was born. That's the gag. Other people say I was injected with a gramophone needle and can't shut up. Look, my mother made all our clothes, and by the time I became a teenager, I hated her for it. I wanted stuff off the peg. But as a result, I grew up watching her cutout patterns.
And Jane, creatively, what's the biggest question you have right now?
You know, I wonder how long it's going to get for us to crank up back again, because there's two parts to the creative equation, and that's the artist and it's the audience or the reader. And at the moment, that equation is very broken. Everything I do in my work as a performer or as an artist is telling stories. And you know, I tell it through singing, I tell it through acting, and it took me a long time to come around to actually writing. I think I wrote my first novel in about 2002, which seems like a long time ago now, and I always kept a diary in the Oscar Wilde tradition of having something fabulous to read on the train. But I do love the total control of writing. When you're in a show, you've got to be pleasing the director or the director's boyfriend or the costumer or somebody or the choreographer. In writing, you decide who lives or dies. You decide what they're wearing, where they're going, and oh God, I just love it. I love sitting in my little office at the Meat Market Arts House and writing my arms off.
Jane, speaking of creative freedom, do you approach making your crafts in the same way as you would approach rehearsing a play or writing a piece of poetry?
I suppose so. I've got a really strong creative drive, and whether it does me any good or not, I can't help it. It's sort of a bit manic, so I'm always got an idea a minute. I've got the beginnings of 1,000 projects and books. Writers are always writing. It's what we do. We have to keep our practice up, just like sports people do. And at the beginning of 2018, I decided that I would set myself the task of writing a poem every day. And I did. I wrote 365 poems in 2018. And at the end of the year, I had a look at them, and instead of just going up and getting them printed out at a commercial printers, I decided to try and find someone who would publish them. And I did. And Little Fox Press of Kyneton published them. And they came out in an anthology called A Day at a Time in Rhyme. And I'm going to read you a few poems from there. Thinking about how generosity works in my arts practice and looking through my collection of poems, I came across the perfect poem that describes how it works within the way I function as an artist. And this was written on June the 19th, 2018, and it's called Fellowship. We who work art's salt mines with no reason than we must are always bust, and trust too much that everything will be okay. They will pay one day. It's not the why, the end. It is the how will we endure to eat, to rent, to drive, to drink, to create more and more stuff no one really wants until they see it for themselves. So we must nurture fellow slaves when all the odds are stacked against. Recognize, reward, applaud, the song, the picture, tread of boards, the story, poem, speech or act, and when we can, back up with cash. I think we find ourselves making more decisions about generosity these days because the street scene has changed. There are a lot more beggars on the streets. There are homeless people in far greater numbers than in my memory, particularly in the city. And each time we pass them by or see someone on the street, you make a decision about whether you will donate or whether you won't, whether people deserve it, whether they don't. It's an ongoing conversation that we have, particularly in the city. And I wrote this poem about that process from the point of view of the person asking for help on December the 15th, 2018. It's called Panhandling, which is, of course, another word for begging. The world at street level, but just below. Cardboard Sharpies scrawl on show, so low. We pass you on the way to Coles. Legs of every muscle, sinew, shins and soles. What can you read about us from our heels, our calves, our knees? Which of these will heed your silent pleas? You with your hoodie down, sat all day, watching trousers pass, and swishy skirts and skinny jeans Ankle socks, knobbly knees, walkers with the means to spare a buck, to give a toss, take pity on you, your lack of luck. But which stiletto? Nike, Trainer? Is Dr. Scholl's a better touch than Martin's, Reeboks, Vans or Chucks? The walking world's not stopping long. Those legs have got some place to go. They're not stooping low to drop a little sugar in your bowl.
For more information on the Seniors Online Festival or to watch more videos, please visit seniorsonline.vic.gov.au.
Today on In the Groove, we welcome two everyday performing heroes. There isn't a song they haven't covered. Sandy and Rachel from the Retro Girls. Are you ready? Lights, camera, boas.
That's exactly it. Feather boas and a lot of them.
You've performed for some diverse audiences all over Victoria, including in RSL clubs, military commemorations. What's it like performing for our return service officers and personnel?
It's such an honour and a privilege to be invited to perform. It gives you such pride to be an Australian, and you get to have a beer with them after the gigs.
Sandy has taught me so much about the military and the armed forces. The biggest thing I've learnt is that I honour every service personnel, everyone involved in the Defence Force around the world that is working, for human rights. And I'm so humbled. And like I said, Sandy's taken me to all these places and all these experiences.
Now, ladies, is it true that you've created a memorial plaque that honours women in the military?
That is true. The plaque honours all women who served in every capacity in the Vietnam War, and it also honours every entertainer who performed for the troops in the Vietnam War. And it lives on the wall alongside hundreds and hundreds of other plaques that actually make that museum possible down in Phillip Island.
It's a beautiful sentiment to honour women in the armed forces. Now, another community that you perform for is the everyday heroes of the LGBTIQ community. What is it about this community that inspires you both so much?
We are both rainbow, we're both queer. We use whatever language, and it's been a very unusual journey because we came to it later in life, and we've stepped out of the heteronormative world and we've stepped into this world of rainbow. You mentioned the local heroes of the LGBTI community. So much resilience and so much courage. Ro Allen, Becky Cole, we are so honoured when we get to perform at LGBTI events.
So from rainbows to RSLs, one of the other communities that you also support is our elderly. You must have met some everyday heroes in the aged care environments that you've performed in.
I'd been in a circus and I'd worked as a nurse and done a whole range of things. But Sandy, and I'd worked in aged care facilities and geriatric wards and a whole range of things in a different way. So when I walked into the aged care facilities as a performer, well, that was a whole new experience. Sandy used to say to me, if you can perform in an aged care facility, you can perform
do it
anywhere.
Yeah.
Because the challenges are right up there. Once I mix the sound and I sing and perform at the same time. So I've got the mixer over here. And there was an elderly gentleman and he was eating cake and he took the cake and he pushed it into the mixer hole. So in the inputs, he's pushing in cream and cake. And
through Philip Brady, we meet this wonderful woman called Val from Preston.
She was a regular caller.
Every night she would ring in, and she became, well, as Philip put it, the third retro girl. And she would ring up Philip after every show and give a critique on what we did.
Retro Girls, can you tell us about what you love about the Victorian Seniors Festival and why?
It has given us a huge opportunity to travel Victoria, to meet the everyday heroes that are out there. We've just had the opportunity to perform in beautiful places like Deakin Edge, the Melbourne Town Hall, town halls all over Victoria, and then down to the smaller places as well. And meeting our elders and our seniors and learning from them, and the humility and the gratitude. Most beautiful
and the
audiences.
The stories, they come and give you their story.
And we are absolutely honoured to have you perform Retro Girls as part of In the Groove. Thanks for bringing your costumes, your performance and your boas as part of the Victorian Seniors Festival, reimagined in 2020.
It's not unusual to be loved by anyone. It's not unusual to have fun with anyone. But when I see you hanging around with anyone, it's not unusual to see me cry. Well, I don't want to die. It's not unusual to go out at any time. But when I see you out and about, it's such a crime. You should ever want to be loved by anyone. It's not unusual, happens every day. No matter what you say, you'll find it happens all the time. Love will never do what you want it to. Why can't this crazy love be mine? So here we are at the Victorian Seniors Festival, reimagined 2020. Woo-hoo. It's not unusual to be mad with anyone. It's not unusual to be sad with anyone. But if I ever find that you've changed at any time, it's not unusual to find out I'm in love with you. Oh, 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 oh my goodness gracious.
How did that happen?
Energy and vitality. I've always been fascinated how we keep our energy and vitality going as we get older. When I wrote the book Alive and Kicking, I interviewed some Australian legends to get their secrets. One of these legends was Bob Rogers, radio personality, still doing radio in his 80s. What Bob said to me was, find something to be passionate about, something you can't not do, and then everything else falls into place. Find something to be passionate about. Toni Lemon, she said to me, showbiz phenomenon, travelling around doing live shows in her 70s. She said, follow your heart. It doesn't matter if you've wanted to sing, to dance, to paint. It's never too late. Just do it. Then we have Dulcie, bright as a button and truly inspirational. This is her story. She married Arthur. Unfortunately, he passed away. Then she married Bill. He was a great piano player, but unfortunately, he passed away. Then she went on to marry Cliff. He was a fabulous dancer, but unfortunately, he was a smoker. And he got emphysema and he passed away. And Dulcie jokes about it. She said, if only I'd known, I would have got them to get a medical certificate before I married them. Now here's Dulcie, 88. She decides she's going to downsize. She's going to move to a smaller house. Does she decide to move To the next street? No. To the next suburb? No. Dulcie, 88, decides to move 400 kilometres north. What do you think her friends and family said? You're crazy. What are you doing that for? Dulcie, it'll be a new, exciting adventure. I went to visit Dulcie 2 weeks after she'd moved into the retirement village. Guess what? Dulcie already had a gentleman caller. Wouldn't you like to know her secrets? Well, one of Dulcie's secrets was, I think it's very important to always have a project, something to look forward to. Without that, you've had it. And now we're going to take another humorous look at relationships with Swampy.
Doggies! G'day folks, old Swampy here, your solitary Sartre, reporting for duty. Today's question comes from Theo. G'day Theo. Theo asks, Dear Swampy, what is the secret to enduring friendships and relationships? Well, interesting Theo that you've asked me, a virtual hermit with not much of a track record to meaningful relationships. Oh yeah, I've got a couple of friends. Sure, they're both imaginary, but we get on quite well. Except when I've had a bit of a big night and there might be a bit of a skirmish. You probably see me out on the street sometime. Go doggies! I usually win those fights though. But Theo, I think the secret to a lasting friendship is basically just find someone who's willing to hang around with you even when you're a complete pain in the butt. Friendship will last forever. Matters of the heart though are slightly more complicated. I was married once. Oh yeah, there were arguments, tears, affairs, and that was just the wedding reception. I think the thing is with romantic relationships, you've got to stick to some rules. Okay, first up, you've got to be willing to dance together, get the moves happening, take off your pants together, also get the moves happening, have some laughs together. That would usually happen when my pants came off. I think most importantly of all though, don't think about the relationship in terms of, oh, what's in it for me? Now think more about what can I bring to the table? Then you'll find out what's in it for you. Oh, and also be willing to let one go in front of each other. Yeah, as long as there's a mutual understanding, you'll both blame the dog. All right, folks, I'll see you next time. Hooroo, go doggies! Did you make that smell, doggies?
Swampy, he's really very clever. Swampy.
Did we get you up on your feet and grooving? Keep moving, keep grooving. I'm Carole. See you next week.